For the first time in his career, Giannis Antetokounmpo is non-committal about his future in Milwaukee. Is this an opportunity for Miami to add a superstar to their roster? We'll break down the latest news and what it all means on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day for daily content on the Heat. Click that subscribe button on YouTube and make sure you are following us on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Have a great show for you today. A surprising topic. We're talking about the latest breaking news regarding Giannis and the Bucks. We'll get to whether Giannis in Miami would make the Heat a contender and what the Heat would have to give up even to trade for Giannis. But let's get to the report first and foremost. This is according to ESPN's Shams Charania Monday morning, reporting that for the first time in his career, Giannis is opening to exploring whether his best long-term fit is remaining in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere, and teams are preparing to start courting Giannis this offseason. It's the big topic apparently in Chicago during the draft lottery. The draft lottery is tonight, Monday night, and this is what the league is talking about, and teams are wondering, hey, is Giannis going to be available? And according to Shams, Giannis is going to sit down with his representation with the Milwaukee Bucks front office and have a discussion about his future in Milwaukee and whether or not he wants to continue his career playing elsewhere at some point this offseason. So, David, if the Heat could get Giannis this offseason, if he becomes available, if the Bucks are listening to offers for him, he would instantly become their top priority, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the thought process behind why the news was released now with the draft coming up and everything that's involved in that and all these GMs located in Chicago in one place. It kind of gets the news started a little bit early. It's not a hard request for a trade. It's nothing that firm, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for everybody to start these conversations and say, listen, if you've got a package that you think is possible and you want to make some move before the draft, this is as good an opportunity to get things started. So it feels like it's the precursor to the eventual trade request. If a trade request even comes, like we might not even really hear about it. It just feels like something that would historically just be, I'm kind of curious to see what else is going on and I might want to play elsewhere. And then for teams to start lining up and start making moves. And the next step could be something along the lines before draft night that Giannis is being traded to X team. And so it just, I think for Miami, that would automatically be their first priority. As you said, it's an opportunity to start looking at draft picks of what they have, what they could acquire for their draft picks. We know that they have some. They might not be the greatest assets in the world, but at the same time, you can start putting those together. That's something that would be of a fair value and also something that would be appealing to Milwaukee. And it's about reaching out to Giannis. I think that's where the next step comes too, is about making sure that you have conversations with him and explain what the priorities for this franchise are and how they align with his goals, which, as he has said before, clearly it's about winning titles and continuing to add to his legacy in the NBA.
Yeah, he told his brother on his brother's podcast, which apparently exists, that if he doesn't win at least a second championship in his career, if he retires, he won't be able to sleep at night. This guy clearly wants to win championships. And when you look around what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks, I don't know how that team gets there. And we haven't, like, the Damian Lillard Achilles injury puts a huge question mark on everything. That was your Hall of Fame co-star. And not only is he probably going to miss all of next season, we don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back at this age. Right. Achilles injuries, as we've seen, debilitating, can ruin a career. Not everybody is Kevin Durant and bounces back from them and has career seasons. So if you're Giannis, you're looking around, you're like, okay, I've got no Damian Lillard for a year. It's me and Kyle Kuzma. A coach who I haven't really won anything with, right? Mike Budenholzer's not there anymore. I don't really know any of my teammates. Drew Holiday, gone. Chris Middleton, gone. Brook Lopez, free agent this offseason. I don't know if you get to the point, according to Shams reporting here, that you're sitting down with the Milwaukee Bucks front office and you're saying, okay, best case scenario, I finish my career in Milwaukee Buck and we win multiple championships. I win another one here. Okay, John Horst, how are we getting it done? I don't know what Horst can say to Giannis. I don't know how Horst can look Giannis in the eyes and say, this is what we're going to do. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3, whatever. And we're going to be right back to title contention and do it in a convincing way. I don't know what the answer is. If you're Milwaukee, you have to say, hey, man, we could try to trade Damian Lillard this summer. I don't know that it's going to happen. How would you feel about Damian Lillard for Bradley Beal? I don't know what it would look like. And Bradley Beal, no trade clause, might not want to play in Milwaukee. So that might not even be on the table for them. I don't know how, if you're Horst, you look Giannis in the face and say, yep, we can win a championship relatively soon. Giannis can be a free agent in 2027. This is not a long window for the Milwaukee Bucks to play with here. They've got 2 years, really 1 year, to convince Giannis. This is a month-to-month, year-to-year thing with him. And Bucks fans hate it when people bring up the Giannis trades, but it feels more realistic than ever, only because now the Bucks don't have any outs. They only have 1 draft pick that they could trade. They have no cap space. There is no way out. There is no way out from where they are now. And if you're Giannis, you're smart, you understand what's going on, and that's why I think we get this reporting right now, because it's also the morning of the draft lottery, and you look at the draft lottery, and depending on what team, if we get a surprise, let's say the Houston Rockets move up from 9 to a top 4 pick, that changes their potential trade package. If Philadelphia keeps their pick, does that change a potential? If Brooklyn moves up, they could potentially be interested in Giannis. But if they're not number 1 for Cooper Flag, I don't think you trade number 1 for Giannis necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you're 2, 3, 4, and you're Brooklyn, you're Houston, you're some of these teams, San Antonio, perhaps.
Yeah.
Even like you could say, yeah, we could trade 2, 3, or 4 for in a bigger package for Giannis. So I think the lottery is going to have a lot to do with what the Bucks are looking for.
It's a good point about Milwaukee and how they can make an appeal. I don't think he will stay in Milwaukee. At this, like reading the news now and all the buzz about it, it's just there's no realistic way that they could pitch anything that would be close to realistic. Despite the connection, despite the history there's nothing keeping Giannis there, and there's no realistic path to building even a playoff team, much less actual title contender, or perennial title contender.
Well, they were a playoff team last year.
I get it. But a lot of that also, I mean, Dame had an all-star level season.
Yeah.
You were wondering about Brook Lopez and whether he can continue. And, Chris Middleton missed most of the season with injury. He was on and off, and he wasn't really particularly effective when he was on. There's nothing else there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the irony here, and it's a sad one, is that Milwaukee swooping in at the last second and kind of taking Dame Lillard away from Portland before Miami got a chance to finalize that deal. And now it's kind of cost them. It could cost them their franchise player because his injury looms large over everything. I like the comparison to KD is such a good point, because KD, a game that's not necessarily predicated on speed, Lillard, as good a shooter as he is, still has to be able to get that first step past the initial defender to get to the rim where he could draw fouls, etc. Coming off of an Achilles injury at his age, at that position, with his size, not realistic. Like, as you don't want to wish for anything, you hope for the very best, because Dame's a great player and a good person and everything else. But that is, I don't see any world.
Even if you're Giannis, why would you wait? That's a year. Yeah, I just had an MVP year. I know he could come back great. He could come back better than he was before, but it's still, I'm wasting a year of my career waiting on that what if. Like,
it's interesting.
So if Giannis were to become available, and you and I both agree, I think this is the first step in multiple reports. We're probably going to end up at the point where the Bucks have to start listening to trade offers for Giannis. I have no reporting on it. It's just my guess. Nobody has any reporting on this. Nobody knows. My guess is eventually Giannis is going to look around and say, I got to go win somewhere else. And that the Bucks are probably going to look around and say, yeah, we're kind of in a corner. It's similar to what Portland was with Damian Lillard. They looked around and they said, this is it. There's no way out of where we are now. When we were Portland, And the reporting around Portland at the time of Damian Lillard demanding the trade or requesting the trade was, thank goodness, because now he requested the trade. We don't look like the bad guys for trading the franchise icon.
Right.
And I don't know that that's how the Bucks are thinking, but I'm just telling you, it kind of feels similar. So if that becomes the thing where the Bucks start listening to trade offers for Giannis, the Heat would obviously make the phone call. What would the Heat have to give up for Giannis? That to me is the big question. We could talk about that next. Plus, how do you build around Giannis if the Heat were to get him? And could Giannis make the Heat an instant title contender? All of that coming up next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Dash Pass. NBA fans, you know what time it is. It's playoff season, which that means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the Heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoff. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more and use the code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms to apply. You know, you ever looked at your delivery fees and thought there's got to be a better way? With Dash Pass, you get $0 delivery fees and exclusive perks like this one. How much would you save over the course of a season? Probably a bit. And now you can get a free 3-piece combo to boot. So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass. Unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, it hasn't happened yet. That means it's about to happen soon. Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day with a $20+ order and the code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms do apply, and we'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. What would Miami give up for Giannis? They have 3 first-round picks, $65 million in expiring contracts, an assortment of 25 and under players. Here's where I'm at right now. And David, we talked about Giannis, I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And I said something to the effect of, you'd have to keep Bam, but you'd also probably have to keep Tyler Herro if you wanted to trade for Giannis. And I don't know, looking back on that, I think that was probably wrong.
Yes.
You'd have to keep Bam, I would imagine. And I'll get to why in a second here. You'd have to include Tyler Herro. More likely than not. No?
I don't know. I think Bam is the move.
So if you're Giannis, let's go back to the Giannis part here.
Yeah.
Miami can't beat the best offers. They can't beat the Houston offers. They can't beat the Brooklyn offers. They can't beat the Oklahoma City offers. If you're going to get Giannis, the only way this works for Miami is if Giannis says, I want to go to the Heat. And if the Bucks are willing to play ball and if they care at all. So that's the only path for Giannis to Miami. That is the first thing that has to happen. The first domino that has to fall is Giannis picks his spot and it's Miami. For Giannis to pick Miami, I would imagine he's doing that in order to play with another multi-time All-Star. And Bam and Giannis share the same agent. Yeah. They share an agency. So that's something that could be that those discussions could be easily facilitated, in other words. But you disagree. I think like Giannis would look at Miami and say, just move me in the Bam spot and we're good to go.
I think even having the same agent kind of makes that deal more possible then. I mean, I know that Bam would prefer to stay in Miami, but I think his agent could also convince him, you go to slide into to Giannis's role there, and you're part of a team. It's your team now, and you can have something akin to what you had in Miami, or at least you had this season, because now with Jimmy out, now it's your team. You're going to be the All-Star. You're going to be the face of the franchise. And you have an opportunity to continue building your legacy and put up great numbers. This is going to be your team. You get to play with Dame. You know, again, eventually. You're going to have to wait a little bit in terms of what his return is going to look like and what he's going to be.
But then why would Giannis want Miami? Because Bam's not in control. If they trade Bam, they trade Bam. Who cares what he thinks? Not to be cold, but it's, in this scenario that you're laying out, Bam's feelings don't really matter. It's Giannis.
Because I think Tyler is a good stepping stone there, a good piece to say, you know what, we are convinced that he's going to be better. He's going to be better playing off of you. We've seen what he's capable of. We are a believer. And we think that he's a better fit around Giannis. And I think that's pretty concrete. Like the idea of Bam and Giannis sharing the floor doesn't appeal to me, because it's not to say that they both play similarly, but both of them lacking a consistent outside shot as much as Bam has taken to develop that. I don't think that that's something that you can count on for the base of your offense. It has to be a little different. I mean, I know we'll talk about what kind of team you'd want to build around Giannis, but I think ideally you'd want a player more like Tyler than like Bam in terms of a better fit. You know, a guy who can catch and shoot, a guy who can play off the ball, a guy who can create opportunities for himself and dribble and attack defenses a little differently than Bam can, and also be able to feed Giannis as he's cutting down, barreling down at 100 miles an hour. So I see why Miami wouldn't want to trade Bam, because he's, you know, again, a centerpiece of this team, a building block and everything else. But we also know that they have a priority to add a superstar. And if that's the superstar you can get, we're talking a top 5 player, still very much in his peak and capable of transforming this team. And I don't know that the front office is unwilling to make that kind of move.
I don't know that they aren't either. But Giannis holds so many cards in here. And while
why would he want to play with Bam?
So I agree with the basketball the basketball stuff that you're saying is all right. You know, Tyler Herro is a better basketball fit than Bam is with Giannis, even if Bam is clearly the better basketball player. My thing is, I don't know that players care. Star players, we've seen this over and over and over again, where all the basketball logic is laid out in front of them and they say, I don't care, give me the all-star. We're all-star players, we'll figure it out. LeBron James and Anthony Davis decided that they wanted to play with Russell Westbrook because they thought they could figure it out. And they didn't. It didn't work. But we see star players time and time again just say, no, give me the great player. We'll figure it out. And I just think Giannis would say, yeah, I hear all the spacing and the stuff like that. I don't care. Go get more shooters. We can find shooters. I want to play with the multi-time all-star. I want to play with Bam. He's the guy that could back me up defensively. I'm not going to have to play center if we have Bam, all this stuff. I don't know. But then again, this isn't a situation where Giannis is a free agent next year. And maybe in order for Giannis to get to Miami, there's a negotiation that says, hey, and Milwaukee says to Giannis, look, we know that you would prefer to play with Bam in Miami, but they're willing to they're willing to send Bam to Milwaukee. This is the kind of centerpiece that we're looking for. We can still get you to Miami. You could still play with Tyler Herro. So everything could be negotiated, in other words. So let's compare the two packages, because I think everything's on a scale. Because if you're including Bam, you're not, I would imagine, having to include all the stuff that you would have to include in a package along with Tyler Herro. So to me, the Herro package starts with Herro, Wiggins, probably Kel'el Ware, the 3 first-round picks, and whatever. Like, you want Jovic? Okay. You want Jaquez? Fine. I guess at that point it would just be up to Milwaukee to determine what they want and how many players they could fit on the roster and all these things. But I guess the centerpiece of the package would be Wiggins, Herro, Ware, 3 firsts, which all and those are the 3 tradable firsts at Miami, all of them. The 20th pick in June, the 2030, and the 2032 pick. You can have all of them. And if it's a Bam package, I mean, at that point, is it Bam, 1 young player that's not Kel'el Ware, 2 firsts, 1 first, a protected, one of those firsts is protected? I don't know, but it feels like it would be less. And at that point, I think that is an interesting conversation, because I do agree with you. Just like the Lakers traded Anthony Davis, when you can get Luka Doncic, if you can get one of the top 3 players in the league, which is what Giannis is, like what is untouchable before that becomes touchable. You know what I mean? So everything has to be on the table.
If you can keep Ware and have him play the same or similar role that Brook Lopez did, you'll see him emerge as a top-tier defender, a shot block specialist, a block shot specialist, a guy who can stretch the floor on occasion. You have Tyler, who's a complimentary scorer. You could probably keep Duncan Robinson, who's going to probably thrive again with having somebody command so much attention as Giannis, and he'll be able to have all these catch and shoot opportunities from the perimeter. You bring another wing defender. Maybe you could keep Wiggins even. I mean, the idea of Wiggins, Giannis, and Kel'el as your front court, that's a pretty damn good defensive group, and that's capable of some good numbers. And it's just about finding the scoring from the guard position, and that you can figure out, I'm sure. So it just seems like, and I hate saying it. I mean, I want Bam to be a part of this team. And yet, when you're looking at the possibility of acquiring Giannis and maximizing his talents in order to compete for a title, it just seems like the more logical choice to include him in a trade for Giannis rather than try to accommodate a deal for Tyler instead.
So I'm kind of looking at the starting fives that we're laying out hypothetically.
Yeah.
If you trade Bam, I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe you bring Davion Mitchell back.
Yeah.
Mitchell, Herro, Wiggins, I guess. You would have to include either the Wiggins, the Rozier, or the Duncan salary plus Bam just to make the money work. And maybe Milwaukee would say, well, we're getting Bam, so just give us Duncan, and then we can waive Duncan and save $10 million. And that way we're out of the cap spot that we're in. Or they could say, Wiggins is the better player, give us Wiggins. We don't care. Give us Wiggins, Bam, and whatever else, and that's the deal.
Or you include an extra first to take on Rozier. I mean, I'd hate to do that, but
yeah. Or they could say we want Rozier because it's an expiring, and that's the money we can save. It feels like they would prefer just to take Duncan and waive him and save the $10 million right away, and then also be off of that
they're not
money.
building for anything. They're not building for anything this season.
Yeah, but you're still you're still dealing with the luxury tax issue. So I don't know that Rozier makes any sense. You'd want to get out of the luxury tax, and Robinson would allow them to do that. So it'd be either give us Wiggins, he's the better player, we don't care about the luxury tax, or give us Robinson, we could save $10 million, which for us in luxury tax terms means like $40 million or whatever it is. So you'd have Mitchell, Herro, Wiggins, or another small forward, figure it out, Giannis, and Ware. With a couple of, I don't know, the bench still needs work no matter what. Or if you're trading the Herro package, Herro, Wiggins, Ware, all 3 first-round picks, it's Mitchell, Duncan Robinson stays for spacing. Small forward, Giannis, and Bam. I don't know. It's really interesting. But the other part of this too is, they're going to have to compete with other offers. So whatever the Heat are negotiating with, it could change if Houston's like, well, here's Amen Thompson, which I don't think they would make him available. No. But it's not just negotiating in a vacuum. So Heat fans listening to this could be like, I'll never include Bam Adebayo in a deal, or I'll never include Tyler Herro. Why would you use all 3 for whatever? They could have issues with whatever they want to take issue with in these hypothetical trade packages. The reality is Miami would not be negotiating just with Milwaukee. They would be negotiating against 28 other teams. I don't know the team that doesn't want Giannis. And if Cleveland goes down 3, they're down 3-1 right now. If they lose this series, they could look to make changes. Oklahoma City is tied 2-2 with Denver. After 2 years of being the first seed in the West and then losing in the second round potentially, the Thunder could say, here's Jalen Williams. Here's Chet Holmgren. Miami can't compete with that. Plus the billion draft picks that they have to move.
Right.
So if Milwaukee says, we want Bam, or you're not getting Giannis, then the front office has to have a meeting about it. I'm not saying they have to do it, depending on what the whole package is, but you'd have to have a meeting about it. And even the thing of, well, if it's Bam, maybe it's not the 3 firsts. Well, if Oklahoma City's saying, here's Jalen Williams and 6 first-round picks, then maybe it is Bam in the 3 firsts. It could be that competitive. This is Giannis. Getting Giannis would be the biggest splash in Heat history, right behind LeBron coming in 2010.
Yes.
Nothing comes close to that. Not Alonzo Mourning.
Not even Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal, Jimmy Butler. None of it comes close. None of it comes close. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about how the Heat could build around Giannis, and would Giannis make the Heat an instant contender, which is the biggest question I think Heat fans have about any superstar acquisition. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out or online shopping, maybe a little entertainment mixed in here and there, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money just isn't a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I started realizing just how much I was spending on food delivery and entertainment. Now I budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can just use Monarch to check your finances. You can track your spending and you can even start planning long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Hungry Root. Everyone in the house has something going on. You know what it is? There's work, there's school, there's so much going on. You call this busy season. You don't have a lot of time to go to the grocery shopping or to cook healthy meals at home. And that's why you start looking to use Hungry Root. Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning, offering personalized recommendation based on your tastes and health goals. I love how Hungry Root tailors my orders based on what I like or don't like. It gets smarter every time. And with their high quality and nutritious foods, you can stick to your gut-friendly, high-protein diet without spending hours planning, or in my case, a vegetarian-based diet. Take advantage of this exclusive deal. Get 40% off your first box, plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item. We'll be right back.
Would Giannis make the Heat an instant contender, understanding in one way, shape, or form, you would have to gut the team to go get that guy? Is he good enough to make you an instant contender? What do you think?
No. I think you're a playoff team. That's something that is appealing. We heard Pat Riley just days ago say how much the regular season matters to this team. It's always mattered to that team. And with Giannis, while there's always the potential for injury, you're getting a guy who raises the floor for this group so much higher than what it was with Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler as the core of this team. So I think you're almost guaranteed to get out of the play-in tournament with a player like Giannis there, still very much in his peak. But you, in order to cement yourself as a title contender, I don't know that you need a third star, but you need to have a really impressive cadre of high-level role players to complement Giannis and Bam or Giannis and Tyler, whoever stays on this roster, in order to actually compete for a title, because you're taking on teams that are built with high-level talent and also depth in Cleveland and Boston. And that being the case, or New York, you can make a case for them, or Indiana. I mean, Indiana,
Yep.
I don't think they have a top 10 player, although maybe you can make a case for Tyrese Halliburton, depending, some people, and even in the NBA, think he's overrated, but he certainly plays at a high level in the playoffs, and he makes the most out of that team as a playmaker. But they have so much depth that they're winning. They're a game away from making their second straight Eastern Conference Finals, and that's you're looking at another team there that can compete at a high level. That's the competition you have to face if you're looking at, trying to acquire Giannis. So to me, it's about acquiring Giannis. That makes your playoff team. To be a contender, you've got to add something else to the mix.
I agree with you. These are the last few seasons with Giannis. This is how many wins the Milwaukee Bucks have had since the Bucks fired Jason Kidd, hired Mike Budenholzer, and really and Giannis made that MVP star turn. This is how many wins they've had in those 7 seasons. 60, 56, 46 in the COVID shortened season, which would have been, they were winning at a 53 win pace in a normal season. 60, 56, 43, but let's call it 53, or 46, call it 53. 51, 58, 49, 48. Giannis and some of these rosters were very good when they were winning 56 games and 60 games. Some of them were not very good, like the last couple of years when they were winning 49 games and 48 games. Right. But having Giannis on your roster in the Eastern Conference pretty much guarantees you a top 5 seed in the playoffs and pretty much 50 wins, right around 50 wins, which is not something the Heat have done. They did it one time over the last half decade, reached 50 wins. Giannis does it every season, just about. And he's that good, and he's still that good. There is no conversation about Giannis' decline. There is that he just had arguably the best year of his career when you look at the numbers. So Giannis makes you a playoff team, and he raises the floor in a way that nobody since LeBron raises the floor in Miami. So does it make him an instant contender? I don't think so. Depending on what they'd have to trade. We just discussed, the sliding scale in terms of trade packages here, but it would probably be a 12-month rebuild in terms of we've got Giannis, we have the centerpiece, we keep one of Tyler Herro or Bam Adebayo. That's a co-star. Still could potentially be in a tough cap situation, but we're selling Giannis on the coach, on the culture, on the stability, and on the plan. And this front office's ability to execute that plan. We got Jimmy here. We went to 2 NBA finals. If we have you, we can win those championships. We got LeBron here. We built the team 4 straight finals runs. We know how to build around star players. We've got you. We've got Tyler or Bam. We've got XYZ. And in a year, Terry Rozier's contract comes off the books or whatever happens, and then we're going to have a little bit more optionality. Heck, even by February, we might be able to make some trades mid-season to add some players around you. But in today's NBA, if you've got Giannis as your number 1, and whether or not it's Tyler or Bam as a number 2, and the depth, to your point, David, is good enough, I don't know that we're necessarily in a big 3 era anymore. It feels like we're in a top 2 plus a lot of great depth kind of era in the NBA with how the CBA works.
Yep.
No matter if it's Giannis or Durant or whatever it is, the Heat, it's not just the top of the roster that's the problem for Miami, it's the middle of the roster too. And no matter what they do at the top of the roster, they need to address the middle of the roster. No matter what. And I don't know that they could do all of that in one summer, but at best, maybe it could look like the summer of 2010 where it was kind of cleaning house, getting the superstar generational talent and rebuilding around that player.
They've done it multiple times.
Pat Riley said it. I've done this many times in my 30-year career. I don't know if he's talking about specifically this, but he was talking about a lot of stuff.
But even just the idea, not just of you add the superstar. Let's say Giannis is a given and you somehow land him. But part of the pitch also includes, we did it in 2004 when we acquired Shaquille O'Neal. The following year, we saw what we needed. We got it translated to a championship. We did it in 2010 when we acquired LeBron James and Chris Bosh. We saw we needed more. We got more. 2 straight titles after that. Even in 2019, we saw what we needed with Jimmy. He raised our floor. We didn't expect him to be. We didn't expect to be as good as quickly, and we went and added Kyle Lowry. We added etc., and we were able to contend for a title. I mean, that means something. And so I don't think it's too dissimilar a pitch, and it's a proven track record. And you can align with a lot of different things about what Giannis is saying he wants. That's all we want in Miami. I mean, this is from Pat Riley. We want titles. For us, it's all about titles, winning as many as possible. We're a championship culture here. Eric Spoelstra brings that to the table. Pat Riley brings to that table. And I think you can't also discount Miami, the city itself. Like, Giannis is a family man with 2 kids. Is he ready to move out of the cold weather in Milwaukee and come someplace? Is his family, is his wife specifically saying, I wouldn't mind living in Miami for a couple of years?
There's some really nice Greek restaurants down here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go check it out. I mean, there's a lot that you could sell to Giannis that you're going to need to, because as you said, and I think it's pretty clear, you're not going to be able to eclipse a lot of those other offers out there. So it has to be about selling an overall vision and the city itself as the landing place that's going to maximize what you bring to the table.
Ton to get to with Giannis. Again, this is probably just the first step in what could be a long process or a short process. I don't know. I have no idea. But for now, thanks for making Locked On Heat.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, before we do that. So I just wanted to shout out a listener that's a big fan of the show. Just found out this past weekend. Listens to it all the time. We love this. This is our regular segment. I think we're going to do as often. Whenever somebody approaches us or talks to us and tells us how much they're a fan of the show, we want to make sure that we count them out. So shout out to Emilio for always listening to Locked On Heat. We appreciate the support.
Shout out to Gabriel, who stopped me in the street in Brickell the other day and said he was a big fan of the show too. There we go. I like it. Giving it forward. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.